Welcome back, guys. My name is Demitry Sebastian.
And I'm Wes Kendall.
And we are back in session where your fitness and lifestyle questions are answered and bro science is put to the test. So,
Yes.
second video, maybe first. Who knows? Did this come into one? Did it come to you? If this is the second video, welcome back. We're glad to see you.
Yeah. Either way, catch us on YouTube.
Right? Catch it on YouTube. It is BNS_radio. We'll be posting it there. We'll make sure to share the links with you guys so that you are able to find us. As we said before, you will still be able to get this in the podcast form. We are just going to be available in more ways, and now you can stare us in the eyes and learn something. Yes. The studio will be getting improved. I'm very excited about that. Today, we're talking about injuries, which I feel like is always going to be a relevant topic.
Yes, because they're always looming around the corner. It's like Charlie. They're always in the long grass.
There's like those trees are talking.
Yeah.
The weird thing about injuries, it's always it's degrees.
Yeah.
Because I feel like most of us who are lifting consistently to a certain degree, heavy, you're gonna get injured almost every other week, but it's usually like a strain or like a little a crank in my back, and it gets better in like a day. Like that still counts as an injury.
Yeah, I mean, there's like wear and tear, minor injuries. Like you can have like, just like what you said, you have a plantar fasciitis in your foot. That's technically an injury that you're dealing with. It's just like, is it an injury that's going to turn into a chronic injury or an acute injury? Or is it like, hey, maybe I should just deload from that exercise for a week?
And then also you have the whole concept of, I just said, oh yeah, like every other week my back gets a little like, ugh, ow. Okay, well, that could compound into something bigger if you don't fix yourself, because that's your body telling you that something is not going right.
Very true.
So it's injuries are your body's way of telling you, well, pain is the way of telling you that your body is fucked up somehow.
Yeah, I mean, that, it's consistent or inconsistent pain. That's what it is. And it's like a lot of things you can do to mitigate, it being a false sense of pain. That's why everyone's like, hydration is key. It's like, why is hydration key? Well, the muscle has to be hydrated enough to be flexible. And it's like, people don't realize how much of a difference that makes as far as like preventing injuries. And like, try this. Do, 15 minutes of a yoga video. You're going to be so thirsty after that 15 minutes. Yeah. It's like, for some reason, like every time I stretch out, I get like super thirsty. And it's just, I think your body's just like having and needing that water to be mobile.
That's why they're really big about warning people with hot yoga to make sure that like, have you done this before? Are you hydrated? Because you will pass out.
You'll pass out. You might hurt yourself. It's just like, it's more of an intensive than people think.
Yeah. And then we can talk about the whole concept of, are you hurt or are you injured? Which is something that I learned when I was doing athletic training for like the football team in my high school. And then the Army does that all the time too. It's like you fall down during a run and they're going to ask you like, are you hurt or are you injured? Like, is your ego hurting and you scraped your knee? Or did you like roll your ankle? Like, let's define that right now. Because sometimes a lot of people don't know the difference in both directions. So some people, if they feel any amount of pain, they're like, I am injured, I cannot go on. Then there's other people who are like straight up damaged and their mind or their ego will not allow them to accept that something has gone wrong. So there's a couple ways that you can look into that. And that's like a whole conversation on its own, being able to actually recognize that there's something that's gone wrong.
Yeah, it just takes time, like in your sport, to, realize that, like the limits of your body and of, like the exercises. So I would say if it's making it worse, then you're injured. But if it's like painful and uncomfortable, you might just be, hurting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, do you have a tiny heart or is your heart bleeding? Yeah. So if we want to prevent injuries in general, even like the baby ones, like how do we actually do that?
Well, the biggest thing preventatively is, having, a couple things in mind. I would say exercise selection, range of motion, and then proper like flexibility before and after. Okay. So those are like probably the big three right there. Each one of those I think deserves its own discussion.
Well, then let's start with the exercise selection.
Okay. I would say exercise selection is important, and this is critical because you want to be doing the right work for the right job. It's like if you're training or working out, there's a difference. Training is doing specific motions for a specific goal, where working out is just burning calories for fun. So I would say do like the less risky motions for the joint, depending on like what you're doing. If you have a shoulder injury and you have pain on a barbell bench press, then you should probably stop doing barbell bench press forever unless you find a way to fix the pain. If it's something that every time you do it, it hurts in the joint and you're sore either during or for a while after, and it's like not, oh, I worked out the muscle. It's like, wow, that joint is, inflamed and like damaged. Then you're done with that exercise probably for potentially the rest of your life.
Well, you were talking about that recently, that you're starting to get to that age where you're like, there's certain workouts where you're like, I don't know if this is like the cost to risk benefit is there for me anymore. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean, oh, I can't work chest anymore. There's a ton of other ways that you can work your chest exactly like a flat bench with like a barbell. Like for me, I'm most comfortable with dumbbells.
Right.
I mean, I still do the barbell because I can and I should.
Yeah.
But you can do that, or there's they have like the hammer strength chest press.
Weight loaded. Yeah.
Still it's the closest thing you can get to like a free weight movement while still being on like a static movement.
Yeah.
Type of a machine. So it's when that exercise selection comes up, it's not just what can't you do, it's like what can you do instead.
Yeah, it's like there's other options. And here's an example of how it's better. So I trained a guy for, a whole hour this morning, and the first half of the workout we were doing chest motions with dumbbells and with a bar. And the first 3 exercises we did, we couldn't go heavy. There's too much pain in his shoulder. He wasn't even working out his chest, and it was just like a struggle to get it positioned and to get it to feel right for the first 3 exercises. Then we're like, you know what? Let's try a machine press, just a machine chest press. And first set felt good. Second set, he's like, wow, I feel more pumped and more fatigued from those 2 sets than the first 3 exercises.
Yeah.
Just because like he couldn't take those bar and dumbbell ones to any level of intensity because it was causing more pain and more injury.
That was part of the reason I stopped doing CrossFit. I find it laughable even on my own I was having issues with things like front squats and going from a front squat to a press. I didn't have the wrist or the elbow flexibility. Yeah. And could have gotten there? Yes, I probably could have. That's why I find it laughable. It's like I did quit at the end of the day. But sometimes you think to yourself like, okay, I can do this, but I can't do this to the level where the workout actually means something.
Right.
Which actually brings me to the thought of timing within your workout.
Yeah.
So we'll go from to back/leg. If you have a deadlift, a barbell heavy deadlift in your workout, probably want that to occur pretty early on.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to get, it for progressive or strength sets.
Yeah.
That should be one of the first things you do.
Because if you do everything else and you're fatigued and everything, you're like, okay, wow, I had a great workout, and then you end it on your major lift, not only is it not going to go as well, you're actually putting yourself in the position to get injured if you're trying to, say you're tracking your numbers really well and you know what numbers you're supposed to hit that day, you're going to try and get them, especially if you're, an athlete, you're working for it. Yeah. You're actually putting yourself at risk of getting injured because your body is now thinking like, dude, my ass is kicked. Now we're going to have to do this. And you might end up doing some drops in your form. You might do something dumb and end up either ruining your workout, not getting what you should have gotten, or just getting a flat out injury.
Yeah, you're completely right. I mean, if you're doing whatever your most risky exercise that you're taking to that failure or that progressive point, that should be done, at a point where you're warm and, loose, but not fatigued and at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're completely right with that.
So you mentioned range of motion.
Yes. Range of motion.
I want to actually talk a little bit about legs with range of motion, because I feel like chest workouts and leg workouts are where people's range of motion is very disastrous, because with pull downs, pull ups, deadlifts, you kind of know. It's did you go all the way to your peak and then all the way down, or did you not?
Right.
Lie if you want. I saw your fucking pull up. It wasn't good.
Right.
Whereas with squats, some people are, okay, I'm ass to grass. Some people are perfect at that 90 degree. And then some people are doing little baby hops. It's just, we don't count as real, but it is what it is. How can those kinds of things become problematic?
Well, I think one philosophy that may have been taken too far for most of us, especially people who did any type of weight training in high school, every coach is like, hey, when you do a bench press, you got to go all the way down, touch your chest, and then lock out at the top. It's that's common. It's full range of motion, same thing with squats. Like, yeah, I think a full and proper range of motion is very important and very good. But you have to like realize why you're doing it. If you are doing a full range of motion on a bench press, it's because you're trying to adhere to the bench press USAW standard of performance on a graded lift for a maximum effort. But if you're trying to overload and stress the pec muscles, then doing a full range of motion might actually make that more difficult to achieve.
Well, you were the one who got me onto that train of you don't have to go all the way to the bottom, all the way to the top, especially with bench press and back motions.
And shoulder motions too, a lot of shoulder motions.
Like like when I'm doing pull downs or pull ups, I never drop all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah.
And I actually don't even go all the way to the top. I go like right to the boop, like right as my muscles are kind of getting to that flexion point.
Yep.
And it's like I made fun of you, like you're a half repper, but also if you're doing it deliberately and with intention, that's actually way harder, and it counts more as like a static hold than as a half rep.
Yeah, as far as hypertrophy training is concerned, it's more effective than doing a full rep range of motion where the muscle actually gets a break and the joint takes part of the tension.
I think that's something that where you find the injuries occur is with stuff like leg presses. And this is all things I think of when I'm like in high school. Like we're talking like early college, high school, or if you're a new lifter, you typically don't see these types of injuries as much as you get older because people's kind of egos get in check.
Yeah.
But everyone knows that guy who's like, I can leg press like 1,000 pounds. And then he does it. And then someone who's actually strong comes out of nowhere and they're like, that's not a real rep. Do a real rep. And then they try, and the ego comes in and they go all the way down to their chest, and then suddenly like those hamstrings were not actually trained at all for this.
Yeah.
And pop, and we're done. Same, actually, a lot of people pop biceps that way too. They'll go too heavy on like biceps or some kind of pull or like a curl.
Yeah.
And they're just like, they're swinging, and then they like go too long and then done because they were not training that way. And then they got into the room with another animal who trains slightly differently than them, and that's where your inconsistencies in training are suddenly come to bear.
Yeah, you're putting yourself in a risky spot, especially like the leg press. That's a good point. Like there is a sweet spot for the leg press. You can take it too far down, and then there's also these people who are just doing the little squeaking the reps out at the top, not going deep enough. So I think you have to know which muscles you're trying to engage, and then do the rep range that's going to do that maximally.
Just like know yourself.
Yeah.
Like from the start, the best thing you can do is know yourself and say, I need to lower the weight and do the full rep.
Yeah.
Or you need to accept, I am, and I mean this with peace and love, I'm a half repper. And if someone calls me out, I might just have to eat that crow because I'm not going to, like, maybe this is my reality check, but I'm not going to sit here and try and showboat for someone who isn't even important to me in my quest to like be better at what I'm doing.
I feel like people who, maybe not like absolute beginners, but people who've been in the gym a little bit, you can tell when someone's doing half reps the hard way or doing half reps the easy way.
Easy, yeah, you can tell. It's very easy to tell, especially if you have an eye for it.
Yeah.
What's even worse,
you can see him at the top, like, oh, he's just barely locking out the press at the top, or they're like all the way down to the chin, super deep, only going part way up, and then control all the way down to the chin. It's like there's a difference in a half rep on that.
Like people talk a lot about how you get two people next to each other on machines and they're like, they start competing. It's just like treadmill or something. But like if you have a bench next to somebody and you're kind of in the same area, it's like, well, now I got to throw 5 more pounds on there.
Yeah.
Because he's disrespecting me.
Yeah. Have to one up.
But if you see like two like really good guys next to each other, like they like really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like they're playing 4D chess because they're something like, oh, and he's pausing, and he's up. It's like, now that's disrespect. Like that's
not only did he get it for 8 reps, but he did a pause and a fucking negative.
What an asshole. Like, those are when you really see people starting to come up at their level. But it's just like injuries come up so much when ego gets
that's
involved.
right. We're talking about injuries.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it all comes around the circle. I mean, the way you're going to get hurt is when you start acting like you aren't who you are.
Yeah.
And
that's a whole nother one we didn't even get into is ego lifting.
Ego lifting. Yeah. Well, we already know ego lifting's bad. Know what you can do. Don't let anyone convince you. The girls at the gym don't care about you. And the guy at the gym who is stronger than you doesn't care about you. And the guy who is actually trying to compete with you is actually probably weaker than you, has less of a foundation, but you happen to find him at his one good lift.
Right.
And he's like, this is where I'm going to show off for all the ladies that don't care about me.
Yeah, it's like their one lift that they're good at, and they're trying to compete with everyone at it.
Yeah, and the deadlift.
That's definitely, we all have that lift. Yeah, exactly.
If I'm deadlifting, like that's the one I'm like, I get to look around, I'm like, I'm not weak.
Yeah.
I can do this. And then you always have there's actually a guy at our gym who does, he looks like such a slouch.
Yeah.
But he is so strong. I wish I could.
Who is he?
I don't know him at all. He's just like a random dude. He's about my height. He looks like he's doughy. He doesn't look impressive at all. I was doing bent over rows like on the bench, like one armed. I'm doing, I don't even know what I was doing. I was like when I got back, so I'm like doing like 55 or something.
Yeah.
And dude rolls up, he pulls out 90s, and I'm like, all right, like that's great. I'm sure you're so strong. I can't wait for you to do one of those.
Yeah.
And he's just cranking them out, like doing like 10 or 15. I'm like, dude, stop.
like-
You're making me look bad. Like,
It's like, can you make that look any easier?
it was great. It was smooth. It had good control. I mean, I wouldn't say he's like, you know, the most impressive in his form, but like just how unimpressive he looks and how strong he is.
Yeah.
I was just like, anyone that tries to get next to you and try and put some disrespect on your name is gonna be bummed out. Like they're gonna get injured, not you.
There's always some freaks out there. You
There's
never
always
know.
somebody.
Yeah.
So the thing that I'm the worst about doing,
Yeah.
stretching.
Yes.
Warming
we all
up.
are. We all are.
That's could you imagine this? A world where we all stretched and warmed up, how fewer injuries there would be?
I think that, you know, all those back brace and, you know, pain pill and, you know, what's Shaq's icy hot commercial, all those things would go out of business if you know, we all stretched out more and did, you know, I put in there MFR, myofascial release, which is basically a fancy term of like a deep tissue massage.
I think you actually have a prop for this.
Yes, I do. All right, let me bust it out. Unfortunately,
We now have a video format so you can actually see things.
yes, this is my favorite new Christmas present. Thank you, Nicole. Theragun right here. It looks somewhat like a cross between a sex toy and a jigsaw,
Yep.
especially when
You wait, I can hold your mic for you. Wait.
Thank you, thank you. So it's got like 5 different attachments you put on here. And the fancy thing about this is you actually, it pulses at a frequency that is supposed to be healing for the muscles. It like, it's supposed to shake them at like an intensity that's supposed to help break down scar tissue and initiate the healing process. So
Actually, you know what? I can see it from here.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you guys. So how much does that thing cost? Like one of those usually costs?
like $100 right here. I'll test it out, guys.
Now this costs $15.
Yeah.
So you don't need to get the $200 one. They're both they're equally valued. Yours is way cooler and way better and way easier. But man, I'll tell you what, legs and back,
Yeah.
this thing will do the exact same thing. So I'd like to go and give us our demonstration.
Okay.
Do you need me to hold this so you're not vibrating?
Here's on right here, and then it's got multiple power settings. And then
Now I see what you mean by pseudo sex toy.
yes, go ahead and of course, whenever you're doing something like this, you have to do at least 35 seconds on the
You
target
hear your voice
area
vibrating.
to get the right stimulation. But yes, it vibrates. There's settings right there. It works pretty good. I've used it before my workouts for better success than after my workouts. That's one important thing.
Yeah.
Is, and I was even hearing my coach talk about that on his podcast. He was saying that if you do it before, it actually like gets the muscles primed and ready to work and loose. So that's why you saw that one jacked crew the other night with their Theragun.
They had their
in the gym.
Theragun at the gym.
Yes.
So, getting away from these tools for a second, there was for a long time this whole debate about static versus dynamic stretching before workouts.
Yeah.
And I think the world has agreed that we're now dynamic stretching before workouts, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And then we're ending on static.
Yes. Correct.
So before the workout, it's really about getting your blood warm, getting your flexion moving, this thing, because they found that if you do static stretches, what it does is it loosens your muscles up and gets them like all stretched out and expanded, and then you work out, which then clenches them up, and that puts you at risk for injury, correct?
I think so. I do know this is another part that I know is involved. It does some mechanism in that fatigues the muscle, so it's no longer able to fire as effectively.
So yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's because it's too loose or why, but it's probably because it's too loose.
We are credible and scientific.
Yeah. So somehow stretching before your workout makes your muscles less effective.
Static ones, the long holds. Yeah. So when you
30 seconds or more.
If you do a warm up like doing lunges or push ups or dynamic pulling. Most of us know that if you do a warm up like getting on the treadmill, you're going to have a better workout. If you go into a bench press, you see people, with like the 2.5 pound weight doing like ins, outs, ups, just to get those shoulders like fired up. Yeah. Because those are typically what you want. You don't want them to be stiff when you go into it, because then that's when you get the snaps.
Right.
There's about 1 million different ways you can do it. It's funny because if you go online, you look up like good dynamic stretching routine. They're like impossible to find without there being a paywall. Like you can find individual things, and this is where 5-star comes in.
We got our own.
It's great. I do like it. I need to do it more. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. A bunch of different trainers will have ways of doing it. That one guy we had on a while ago, Josh. His was awesome. He walked us through his. I already forgot it, and I hate myself. I wish I'd taken notes.
He had a good like sports athletic one.
Yeah, his was awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
So it's shooter's choice. And the thing is, if you do one and it doesn't work for you, it's okay, because there's a bunch of different ways to do it. And then ending your workout with static stretching, what that does is it increases healing. It decreases the likelihood of feeling sore, shitty. It makes it so that the next day you're not as beat down as you would have been otherwise.
Think about it like this. Back before the Beats and what are these AirPods came out, when you had your pair of Apple white headphones and you'd stick them in your pocket and then you'd pull them out an hour later and there'd be totally knot of wire, and you'd be like, oh my God, this is going to take me forever to unravel. That's your muscles after workout. So what you got to do is unravel them, iron them back out, put them in their little case so that it's not all twisted up, and then boom, your muscles will recover and grow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hopefully, right?
Yeah. They'll grow, I swear. Yeah. It's at the end of the day, it's just the smart thing to do from a longevity standpoint. It's the smart thing to do from a development standpoint. And myself and many of you will ignore this advice until one day you finally get a proper injury.
Until you get an injury, yeah.
And you're going to be like, oh,
that's why
I'm old. I'm slowly dying in front of myself. So I really need to, if I want to keep doing this in the long term, I'm going to need to like actually be smart about this, especially if you are a power lifter or someone who does CrossFit. The performance stuff is the ones that you are the most, you should really be taking care of yourself. Yeah. Because it's great if you want to look great on stage, you're going to suffer more and everything, and you're putting yourself at risk for a workout, but you're not putting yourself in these situations where your body's put into like highly stressful situations. It just is what it is.
Right. Yeah. I'd say, if you're more advanced you are, the more important it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like, the more muscle that you hold and the more, I guess, activity your muscle needs to perform, the more you're going to have to take care of it outside of the gym, because it's like having a high performance car. It needs more maintenance.
Yeah. So we talked about the whole concept, are you hurt or are you injured?
Yeah.
And I would say the vast majority of injuries that happen in the gym are something that can be fixed by taking a step back, stretching, making sure you're getting proper nutrition, taking care of yourself, and you'll be back.
Yeah.
Where for you is the line where it's like you need to go see a professional, or you are going to now have a bum arm or a bum leg?
Yeah. Like if every single gym workout you do after you get home, it's like you're in, a lot of pain. It's like, hey, it might feel good while you're working out, but as soon as you're done, if you're like in pain the rest of the night, that could be something that isn't getting better over time. It's like, it's at this point a chronic injury. Yep. That's something that you may need to address, or else it's like going to continue to get worse or put you out of the game. If you have something that's causing, I would say, like if you have a really tight muscle, like some people get like a tight muscle in their back or their neck, and it causes a lot of extreme shoulder pain every time they do presses, they may need to get like realigned or like get some type of deep tissue work, either by themselves or by a professional, to get their shoulders and chest back open. So that's super common, especially now with us working on our computers more than ever. So that could be a time where if you can't do it on your own, or you're experiencing like pain every time, or it's worsening pain and it's making it worse, then maybe it's time to seek help.
Also, a good thing to remember is your body loves you and wants to take care of you and is going to do everything it can to get you back to correct.
Yeah.
So you can injure yourself, and your body's not a doctor. Your body is not going to be able to line things up. It's just going to do with what it has. So if your shoulder is hanging low now because you overstretched something, it's going to heal in the position it's in.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who work in physical labor type jobs or in the military, we all know somebody who has an injury that healed wrong.
Right.
So it's like, why are you crooked? It's like, oh yeah, I blew out my shoulder while I was doing, throwing hay, because people do that, I guess. And it just, I didn't go to the doctor because I didn't have the time, this and the other. And like, if it heals that way, that's pretty much game over unless you go get reconstructive surgery.
It's like re-injuring it.
Anyone who's gone to an ortho, I remember my dad was the one who told me, like, I got surgery on my wrist.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, my wrist sucks now. Like, it's not good. Like, I used to be like pretty hot at the 3-point line playing basketball. And I had to relearn, and like, I've never been as good. And also it's probably just because I don't play basketball that much anymore.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was like, I thought the surgery was supposed to fix me. And he's like, oh, no, it's supposed to like make you not like broken, but it's never going to be the same.
Yeah.
Like the second you go into the knife with an ortho, it's like you are going to be back in the game, but you'll never be what you were before.
Wrist now.
It's different. Yeah, it's not the one I had before.
Yeah.
So it's, if you allow yourself to get injured, and trust me, I get it. Healthcare in this country is amazing. And, sometimes it's not easy to get into that stuff. But if you can, and you can get that stuff fixed, get to it when you can, try and get it fixed, because at the end of the day, if you avoid it, you're just putting yourself in the position to have a permanent issue further on.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, do what you can when you can. It's like the more you put it off, the less ground you're going to cover, and you could be getting worse. So
absolutely. So the points were, when you do workouts, pick what works for you. Yep. If it doesn't work, that's fine. There's other options.
Yeah, you don't have to do barbell bench press.
You don't have to. Thank God someone finally said it. The second thing was range of motion.
Yep.
Do it right and understand where your shortcomings are.
Yeah. For you, not for everyone. It's like everyone's body is different, so your range of motion might be slightly different than mine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to help with that range of motion, flexibility, stretching, all that stuff. If you start stretching now, doing your dynamics in the beginning and taking the time to do the stack at the end, even if that means you have to have a shorter workout, you are going to be better off for it in the long term.
Agreed. Yeah.
So those are 3 points. If you're still going to probably get injured at some point. Let me just go and be clear with you right now. If you work out 4 to 5 days a week for the rest of your life, you will get injured at some point. I just don't know how else to tell you it. A body in motion stays in motion, but what is it? A ship in a calm port is the safest ship, but that's not what ships are made for.
Yeah.
Kind of shit like that. Probably butchered that.
I feel that. Yeah. No, but you're right, though. It's like, if you're in it long enough, you are eventually going to get some type of, chronic or minor injury, or even a serious injury. And basically that happens to me every few years. And it's just like, okay, well, I need to up my level on my recovery. That's every time. It's because my recovery either has slipped, or because I am now older or training harder and need to increase my recovery. Yeah. It's always one of the two.
An injury can either be something that you learn from and develop with, or it could be something that ends a portion, if not your entire career, as an athlete of sorts.
Yeah.
So it's up to you to kind of make that decision. If you have any questions about that stuff, I'm sure Wes will be able to help, as far as like, hey, my shoulder's jacked, I can't barbell bench press. There's tons of answers for that. We can talk about alternate exercises all day. That could be a topic on its own.
Yeah.
And do you have anything else to say about injuries at this point?
Yeah. If you are injured, don't think that I'm going to be able to fix it.
That is a really good point.
Yeah. I can help you avoid injuring it more, but that's about it.
You might just be done. Go to a doctor. And just what? Some doctors are going to tell you too. Yeah, you're just that now.
Yeah, it's like, well, don't do that anymore.
It's like if you're a guy in a wheelchair, if you lose the bottom half of your leg, if you do, there's like certain things. It's like, hey, we can give you a prosthetic. We can give you a back brace. We can give you these alternate things you do. But at a certain point, there's only so much anyone can do.
Remember, you can always work out your legs, but you can't work out your face.
The Kardashians have proven that to be untrue. And with that said, Thank you guys for coming again. Again, we're super excited to be on video. We'll have this up as soon as possible. Expect the podcast still. You can find us on Instagram at BNS_radio. You will be able to find us at the same thing at BNS_radio on YouTube. Look it up, like, subscribe. If you like it, please let us know. If you think there's some things we could do that are better, please let us know.
If you have poster ideas that we should get.
Yeah, exactly. The background, something needs to happen.
We have real
here.
estate to put things.
Something needs to happen here.
Yeah.
It will not stay this way. Stay tuned. And you guys know where to find us. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.